Hello, I'm Nathan Bunker, Senior Technical Standards Architect at the American Immunization Registry Association. My job is to improve public health by supporting the development of new interoperability standards. I'm also one of the organizers of the International Vaccine Code Initiative, established in 2023 to unite vaccine code experts and address questions about vaccine information coding. Consistent vaccination coding is critical to the future of interoperability. In this video, I'd like to talk about the scope of the IVC initiative. As you see in the picture here, immunization safeguards our future by preventing disease and promoting health. So we think about the scope of this project. We want to think about how both at the individual level and also at the community level. So at the individual level, we want the individual to be protected against vaccine preventable diseases. And so what we want to do is we want to restore the immunization history in such a way that we can answer that question. Is this patient here protected from diseases that could cause them harm? And we have a responsibility in health to make sure that the patients that we work with are protected and we're giving the right advice about which vaccines we should give them. So it's really important that we understand their vaccine history and have it coded properly. But that same question about is the patient protected is the same question that's asked about the entire patient population. Are the people in our city, the people in our area, are the people in our country, are they protected from certain types of diseases? Those questions can be asked by looking at each individual patient, finding out what they've been given, and then making determinations as to whether the population has the right levels of immunity based on the vaccinations they've received. So kind of get an idea here of the scope of what we're talking about, an idea. And this is really helping us form the scope of our project. Just imagine medications. So vaccinations are a type of medication in the sense that they're a substance you give to a patient. But they're very different from they have a difference from other medications in that most medications have a lifespan where they're relevant, and then after that, they're not so relevant. So I'll give a good example of like an aspirin given for a headache. Maybe your doctor wants to know about that if it happened today, but an aspirin you took 3 years ago, in most cases, is not something that's particularly relevant. So when people are looking at your medical record, they aren't usually looking back to see when you got aspirin 3 years ago. But a measles, mumps, rubella shot that was given 3 years ago is still relevant. It's something that's going to be relevant for your immunization history. In fact, any vaccination received in your entire lifetime is relevant for determining which vaccinations you're due for. And that's quite a bit different from other medications. We just want to highlight that. We think in that difference lies the scope of our project. So what we want to know is, what do you need to know to ensure the patient's protected? And we want to know what they were given at any time in their lifetime and anywhere in the world. We don't want to just be what was given in this country. We want to give it anytime and anywhere in the world, because that's going to give us the most complete picture. And, we're really dedicated to supporting this long-term and global view. This is really our scope for our group, is this, can we record the vaccination given anytime and anywhere in the world, and can we understand that? That's what we really need to do. And so in scope for us is vaccine code set management. So how do we manage these vaccine code sets within the country, within an area? We're concerned about national universal code sets. So universal code sets will be like SNOMED or ATC. These are ones that are used cross-country. We also know about code sets are used within a nation. We're concerned about those as well. That's within scope for us. We're at the technical and detailed level of codes. We're talking about actually how those codes work. And we're talking about lifetime vaccination records. So how can we store this code for a long time on the record, and including emergency and clinical trial vaccinations that do affect people's affect their immunity. Emergency vaccines are a good example. COVID vaccines, which are now routine, were originally emergency ones. And so we want to make sure our scope is to support whatever new things come and support them rapidly, not just the regular things being given. Now, so out of scope, for sure, this stuff is out of scope. Policy discussions, we're not a policy group. We're not here to decide what vaccines should be given and when they should be given and what the schedule should be. We're not talking about any of that. We're not making any decisions in those areas. We're not talking about what code set you should use. So inside your project, if you're using a particular code set and you wonder about using others, we can provide information that gives you understanding about what that code set is and what its strengths and its weaknesses will be. But we're not going to tell you whether you should use that code set or not. We're also not talking about software or the systems that go inside this. So if some of you would work with software development, we do have folks in our group that are software developers, but we're not actually going to talk about the software itself. We're going to talk about the codes that are there. Now, there's some things that are closely related, but they're not really in scope. But we want to mention them because some of the work we do might benefit these, but we actually want to put these out of scope. So medication supply, so this would be how medications move throughout a hospital or clinical settings. That's all outside of scope. We believe that is the movement of a vaccination versus medication. Those have a lot of a similar type of issues. we're kind of out of scope for that. So you notice that some of the code sets are about the pharmacological products, the medicinal products that are sent around. That's kind of out of scope for us, although we may have some projects where we map some of those common codes into our vaccine code. So if you're in the US, you might have the NDC codes, for example. The NDC codes are more on the medication side. We might have some mappings where we map those into other code sets just because we're interested in that, but we're not really looking at working in that space. Inventory is another example of how the inventory of pharmaceutical or vaccinations are handled inside clinics. Those are really important questions. We think those are very important, but they're really out of scope for us. And so there's some issues related to how you code things. So for example, there's some vaccine codes that'll tell you exactly what kind of product is being given. Like, is this a 10 doses together in this product, or is it just a single dose? Those are interesting for inventory, really, really critical. Those are out of scope for us. And then just pharmacovigilance. This has to do with the type of work that's happening around is the medication this person receiving, is it causing any harms or problems? We need to be able to track what's going on with that. That's a really important overarching view. We definitely support, we don't think that's important, and we support that. Just it's out of scope for our particular area. So there are a lot of issues to deal with pharmacovigilance, very important. We think all three of these things, while they're in the immunization space, they have a lot more to do with the general problem, and we think that's solved by other groups that are working on that. So we're aware of those things, but we kind of see them going beyond the edge. So, and that's it for this section. So thank you for your interest in the IVC initiative. We're seeking vaccine code experts who usually work behind the scenes to ensure public health systems function smoothly. If you or someone you know would like to join our monthly calls and collaborate with peers from other countries, please contact me to join our group. We look forward to meeting you.